What's going on, everybody? It is TripleCrown24 back today with a new COMC update video. This will be recapping the first month of the new year, kind of looking ahead to see how I did. Well, I guess I should say looking back to see how I did and how I think I'll do here as we move through quarter one of 2023. Oh boy, what a difference a month makes, right? So I had two 500 card batches fully processed in about 2 weeks into that now of having all of my cards available for play, available for sale as well. And just the results are night and day. You can see my port size has drastically increased from the last time. I think I've probably multiplied by bankroll by 2.5 times what it was during the last COMC update video. I also had my strongest sales month here. I'll get right into it, show you how I did overall. And this was, since my return to the platform, again, the best sales month here. You can see $340 above what I did in September 2022 when I first came back to the platform. By far the most number of cards sold at 318 cards. This would indicate a significant dip in terms of the average price per card. And what I find very fascinating about that is that I sold a lot of really low end cards, and then I actually sold some of the better cards in my port during January as well. And you'll see those. I'll kind of talk about some of the sales trends there. But overall, I've been extremely pleased. I figured that once I got that first couple of batches processed, that momentum would really start going. And kind of looking ahead over the horizon, show you my processing status. I actually had two that were just added today. I'm recording this on Tuesday, January 31st. So still a few more hours here on the East Coast to get in some last minute sales to boost up those numbers I just showed you. But you'll see here that I have 105 cards in, and they're due on the 14th. This is a select processing. I'm taking advantage of the fresh pulls promotion, which I hadn't previously done. So this will be kind of a trial run with that. We'll see how it goes. And I can talk more about that in a future episode if you guys are unfamiliar with what that program entails and kind of what goes into it. Then you'll also see just a regular submission here of 400 cards at 50 cents a piece. That'll be due in late May. So not stuff that will be immediate, but I do have a very large order, at least very large relative to the other ones I've sent in, that will be popping off here in mid-March. So very much so looking forward to that, but still about 6 weeks out from seeing that completely fulfilled, probably 4 weeks until any of the cards start to appear. But what has appeared so far is a lot of stuff that I've sent in, and a lot of the cards that maybe I didn't necessarily think would sell were the ones that went off here early on. Just some cards. It's funny because some of them were in my eBay store for probably 2 years or so and never moved once. And then within a week of putting them up on COMC, what do you know? They've sold. So you just never really know sometimes with just getting different eyeballs on it or people seeing it on a different platform and having, I guess, the found money that they may have from their own COMC sales will help them out. Who knows what it might be. Let's go to the sale price here. And you'll see the biggest one here was this Randy Moss Zebra Prism. I bought this back on January 9th and decided to test the waters of the COMC auction. I actually have never done that before. And overall, I was pretty happy with it. This is about the price that I was thinking I would get. Do I plan on running auctions or using their auction feature often? Probably not, but it was nice on a higher end card like this that I picked up. So it went from 98 up to 135.50 on that. So not too shabby there. Finally, one of my, I think I bought this card like 4 or 5 days into being on the site, and it popped off here. Miguel Cabrera, Flawless 2021. Bought it for 54 after fees up to 76. So nice little $22 increase there. Here was one of my better flips. This one came really right at the start of the new year. You see there January 3rd. Essential Credentials Future of Randy Johnson for $25. These credentials don't really pop up all that often, especially for a specific player. You would be lucky to find any sales history on them. within the past year? And if so, you might only find one or two that have come up available for sale. A lot of times when they're put up, they're also not really available for what I would consider reasonable prices. But this one was at $25. I just figured it was way too cheap. I tossed it up at 70. I figured that we'll play around with it, see what happens. And as you can see here, I woke up the next morning and overnight it had sold to a buyer on eBay. So did not last long. I imagine someone out there who collects Randy Johnson was probably looking for that one, and hopefully got to a good home with them and they enjoy it. So from 25 up to 66.26. Here's a Genesis Carmelo Anthony. This is one again the day after the Randy Johnson. I picked this one up and thought at $38.50 that was kind of cheap. I figured that that's probably close to what they would be raw. I wasn't expecting a crazy number on this. This guy made me an offer probably 2 hours after I picked it up and ended up going up about $17 and change. So not too bad for a 2-hour wait on that one. Here's another one from way early on. So saw the Miggy go and then saw the Vince Carter also sell this month from 35 up to 51.30. Another eBay sale there. There's an Ozzy Albies. This was one that I was really not so confident in. I went from 29.74 up to 36.33 on this one. And I'm happy that it sold as quickly as it did. And it was just a little over a month that I had this one, as you can see here. A lot of it seems like every other one here that you can see is from eBay buyers. And that's, I find, pretty typical for a lot of these higher end cards that I'm selling, as I try to price them competitive with what is currently out there on eBay, and also considering the markup that COMC is going to use to list it on eBay and kind of figure out what formula they're going to have to mark it up so that they don't get eaten alive by the fees. So that's been kind of interesting to see. So whenever one of these cards kind of like pops off on COMC, it's actually a bit more of a surprise. Whenever I see I've got a new offer, I kind of hold my breath a bit, because recently it's been a lot of these better cards that people have been sending in offers on. Here's a Castellanos. I've had this one for a while as well. Another one that was a September holdout from 15 up to 28.26. I really thought for sure this one was going to go during the World Series, but that was not the case. So happy that it still went off now. Here's a Jeter Legends variation, US 250 in 2018 update. Probably not the card you associate with that card number, but as you see here, went from 873 up to 2280, less than the cost of slabbing the card in a fine 9. You know why not? Let's go for it. Travis Etienne, I believe this was right around the Jags playoff win that I picked this up. It went a few days later so I went from 10 to 21.13 on that one. Just seemed really cheap when I grabbed it. It was one of those I just clicked on it. Was hoping for the best. I took a look at some of the other sales and worked out well. So happy with that. Here's a Adrian Beltre mini leather from Gypsy Queen 2011, first year of Gypsy Queen. Doubled up on that one. This one probably lasted maybe an hour or two. I did not have this one for too long. And I really like this card. So it was a little sad to see it go, but hey, that's the nature of the beast. Here's a Duran Payne, and you'll see here if this column is blank, that means it's a card that I submitted on my own. And you probably won't be seeing too many that I submitted on my own towards the top of the list. If they are, then that's probably a bad sign, because that means I didn't move too many high-end cards that month. But this one here, he'll be one of the top defensive free agents here in the next coming months as NFL offseason gets underway in a couple weeks. But rookie auto out of Obsidian, number to 10, got 1475. Just one of those that I had in the eBay store for a bit. And sure enough, I guess funny enough is that it's sold on eBay through COMC's account. I was unable to move it, but hey, like I said, different eyeballs, different accounts. You never know what it might catch someone's eye. So that was a nice one there that I sent in. I think I got this out of like $1 or $2 box at a show. So that was a good one. Here's a nice one here, the Babe Ruth Archives. It's numbered Babe Ruth for $6. I figured I had to go for it, up to 1401. This is from the first pour that I ever bought out on the Bill Lambier. And then I wanted to point out this one as well. This is a loss. I think this is actually the biggest loss that I have taken so far on this Scotty Barnes Ice Prism. 23.86 down to 12.11. So not ideal. This one came from a port sale that out of all the port sales I've completed now, I think I've bought 5. This is the only one that I really regret at this point in time. Just because it's a lot of stuff that is like this, that a lot of them were processed as elite, meaning that they have $1 shipping prices with them because they have the high quality scans. And that means I have to lower my price even more to get it competitive with those who just sent them in regular with the 25-cent shipping. Now, I put some value in the scans, on especially on cards like these, because a lot of people who would be buying these cards are going to be looking to grade them. However, at the same time, I don't know if people want the best deal possible, so it means that you might have to maneuver around a little bit more. It is what it is. I'm stuck with the cards now, so just trying to make the most of it. Maybe I can get back to even on the deal still. This LeBron down here is another one that I got from that, so it's not like it's a complete loss, but definitely got to work around it a bit. Then just kind of moving down here, I had some of these Fortnite cards that I had bought in a collection, and this is what I really like about COMC is that a lot of these cards I really didn't want to list because, well, I just didn't really know much about them. And is COMC perfect with getting the details on cards right? No, I would say out of the first 1,000 I sent in, there were 3 or 4 that maybe they got wrong, but that's still less than 1% that they made some kind of error on, at least an error that I caught. And to me, that's pretty darn good, I would say. I would definitely make a lot of mistakes too. So, I mean, I'm getting a service, and I'm very happy with the service, I will say. I've seen some people complain about the mistakes, and you guys know I haven't always had the best relationship with COMC. I'll tell you kind of how I see it with them, but I am very pleased with how everything was processed. There was minimal errors, and everything was pretty seamless. So that was definitely nice. And then you'll see here again just a lot of double ups. That's kind of the name of the game. I did sell out of the Alec Bohm cards here a few days ago, so you'll see those, and you'll also see the beginning of some of the cards that I sent in myself, just from various value boxes, or perhaps they'd sat in the eBay store for a while, and those are the ones that went off. I'm not going to show you guys the stuff that I've been buying recently, just because it's available in my COMC port, so you can see it here. I feel like it's kind of redundant because I usually talk about it when I sell it, or if I ever got it shipped to me, I would be talking about it. So for the sake of time on these videos, I will probably forego that in the near future. But if those out there who follow this series want me to bring that back and talk maybe a little bit about the stuff that I've been buying, feel free to let me know, because I'm definitely open to feedback on this. But you see here a lot of lower end stuff and a lot of these ePack cards. And you might be wondering, well, why are you doing that? Because if you go back to my dashboard here, you'll see this Jamie Drysdale card, Drysdale, excuse me. I was trying to say Drysdale, not the right player there. You can see there. I bought it for 1 cent. It says I got 1 cent. Well, the thing with COMC is that it is going to always round down any partial fractions, and that's going to happen with a lot of these cards. So you see here, oftentimes it's not a round amount because they take that 5% fee. So you see this card sold for $1.49. It was 7.45 cents that was taken. So I really got $1.41, but there's an additional 55 out of 100 towards another cent that is available to me. It's added into my credit, but of course, when we're talking US dollars, it's going to be rounded to the nearest 2 figures. That's just what you do when you have a dollar amount there. So if you look at these ePack cards, it's actually a 1/10 of a cent that I am being charged on them. So I'm really netting 0.9 cents per card. And you might say, well, doesn't that seem like a waste of time? Well, I'm not the one who is sending them in. The ePack transfer to my knowledge, is free from Upper Deck. I haven't really messed around with that all that much. I have an account with them, but I use it to get the free ePacks every day and hope that maybe one day I can get enough to transfer them over. But for the most part, really, all this does is that, repeating this over and over, it adds up over time. And I mean, 9/10 of a cent, it really isn't anything crazy, but I don't have to pay storage fees on these cards. I don't have to pay really anything extra. And, worst case scenario, I'm out 1 cent on them. So I have found some success with that. Am I going to get rich doing that? Absolutely not. Is it really the bread and butter of what I've been doing on COMC? No, it's not. But if it's a player that I can at least recognize, or it's a set or insert set that I like, then if I see one for 1 cent, I'm going to pick it up. Some of the non-sports stuff, or I don't know, some of the brands that I'm just not as familiar with, then I usually let those be, and eventually someone else comes along and scoops them up. But for right now, I'm kind of just mostly sticking to hockey on those, or maybe some of the Skybox Middle Universe Champions stuff that they came out with last year, that and just pick out the players and the athletes that I can identify from that. So that was it for the COMC recap. As you can see, things are picking up for sure. Across the 5,000 item sold mark lifetime on the site here recently. So really cool to see things continue to scale up. I like to go back and kind of at least take a look at the start of each video in the series and see where I was compared to where I am at now, and just to kind of see the growth along the way. And it's definitely rewarding. It's easier to see when I'm doing it like that as to a day-to-day type of thing, because unless there's a massive swing in sales, and usually I'm not seeing too much movement, it's a lot of small transactions that add up over time. But that was really the game plan with getting back on COMC from the beginning. So again, that is it for me today. I appreciate you tuning in. I will see you next time, or next month, I guess, if you only come for the COMC content, with another video. Till then, take care, stay safe, be kind.